sidewalk effect. So I want you to envision this. If you're like myself, you work in a diverse community. On your way to work, you pass by a multitude of people of different ethnicities, genders, races, economic backgrounds. But when you open the doors of your office, that diversity is totally wiped away. Now, to me, this is a massive problem affecting our technology and creative industries today. It's a problem because we're letting down the people who work in these places who need to create the best possible work, fueled by a diversity of ideas. It's a problem because we're letting down our clients that are looking to target diversity of people in the marketplace all around the world. And then ultimately, it's a problem because we're letting down you, those trying to gain access into the industry, rather than be advertising, technology, or media, and then having difficulties gaining employment and then progressing with your career. But today, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about some solutions in terms of solving the problem. Now, this sidewalk effect is something that I've dealt with my entire career, rather be trying to go within my career up through the ranks as a developer, management, or trying to hire people and inspire other people. So my name is Charles Duncan Jr. I'm the Director of Technology at Whiting Kennedy, based in New York. And it's something that this industry is, I've spent my entire career within advertising, and I'm extremely passionate about what can be created. So our first point for today that I want to discuss is inspiring young people so that they understand that there is a career in creative technology. And to level set, let's make sure you understand what I'm referring to as creative technologies. So creative technologists, actually, how many of you think you know what one is? Some do, some don't. Okay, even better. So creative technologists are typically bridging two different departments in a company. The creative department and technology department. On the technology side, they have the technical knowledge of various programming languages and applications, but also the ability to implement through writing code. And as well, on the creative side, they have the conceptual knowledge to work through ideas, work through challenges and solutions, and then be able to apply that in some sort of graphical or copywritten path. Collectively today, they bring this together. Some people have considered creative technologists a bit of a unicorn. In fact, you're able to fully bridge them both. But most of us probably know someone that's kind of straddling the line. Maybe that person is not the most technical, maybe that person is not the most creative, but they're able to balance the two of them. Now, once we look at what are the opportunities for creative technologists out there, first let's look at this stat by Obama's Tech Initiative, which is saying that there are roughly 500,000 technology jobs out there in the marketplace. Obviously, this is broader than just advertising or media or startups, but it's still an indication. But even more importantly, these jobs typically pay about 50% more than the average jobs out there in the industry. So we have a lot of openings that pay more. So that's one specific interest point for people to consider when pursuing a career. Next, let's look at, in terms of the current Blacks and African Americans who are actually pursuing careers in technology. So in the last 30 years, there's been roughly a 50% increase in Black students graduating from universities, which is a great number. But the problem that we're seeing is they're not pursuing degrees that are in technology, architecture, engineering. The numbers there are more relevant in healthcare, medical, human services, social work. And while it's nothing to take away from people who are in industries that want to give back, we look at the opportunities in technology and we want to increase that number. So now we have the opportunities in finances there, and then we also have this need to actually encourage young people within college majors that, hey, there are opportunities for you there. And then now, specifically with the advertising industry, one of the biggest discussions over the last few years has been the emergence of digital technologies and digital deliverables. So we look at websites, mobile apps, desktop applications. In 2009, digital represented roughly 26% of all agency revenues in North America. In 2014, roughly was about 40% of all revenues. It is projected by the end of 2017 that digital will surpass traditional mediums, print, TV, and PR, and that trend is going to continue to grow. So it's not that traditional mediums are going away, but the marketplace is changing and evolving. So you want to make sure that people are just along with that evolution of the opportunities. Our second point is without mentorship, people will suffer. And I'm specifically thinking about those who are in the industry, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in. You got in, but you're still trying to evolve, you're still looking for opportunity, trying to think, what's the next step for an individual? And I want to talk to you guys about this gentleman, Elton Brand. Elton Brand, if you guys aren't a fan of the NBA, he's a 6'9" power forward from my hometown, 76ers. Now, Elton Brand had a very successful 17-year career in the NBA. He was the #1 draft pick, he was an all-star, he was the go-to guy on his team for many, many, many seasons. He was enjoying his retirement, and he gets a phone call from the Sixers to say, hey, we would love for you to come back and join our team. Now, the Sixers didn't need Elton Brand to score buckets, grab rebounds, assist. They needed his mentorship on the team. Because the problem is, the Sixers are probably the worst team in the NBA, but as you know, but then they have a stable of young big man talent. And if the team wanted to invest in that talent, you have to bring someone with experience that can help them grow. Ironically, the NBA season, which is more than halfway through, Elton Brand just had his first game last week, just to emphasize the point. But for Elton, he realized that this opportunity was unique because he had done very, very little in his career to give back to young people. And he said, this is probably my last time where I'm in a position to give back, plus also potentially get some playing time. But when we look at the different industries out there, like the NBA, we need to find opportunities to get more Elton Brands in there that are specifically brought in to mentor and help him grow. It is truly an investment. Now, we know that typically when people are looking for mentors, they're looking for someone who tends to come from a similar background, maybe look a certain way. Not that I advocate that people need to do that, but the reality is the average tech team in America, or creative team, looks more like this than it looked like myself, right? You know, this image from the TV show Silicon Valley, where you have your stereotypical looking team, hoodies, casual, nerdy, pretty friendly. That's what a typical team looks like. And sometimes that provides challenges for people who are there who don't fit this model. Challenges in terms of, does someone look at me and say, hey, I'm capable of that sort of creation at work? Am I technical enough? Am I creative enough? But I feel that it's important that the creative technologists have to look for mentors in a diverse set of areas. Again, the person who's going to provide a creative technologist or a developer with mentorship on how to write phenomenal code, scalable architectures, deliver something on time is going to be different than the person that's going to challenge them on their conceptual thinking to help them creatively. Your mentors might have to come from multiple areas. Even someone as myself, where I'm more senior, I still look for mentorship in terms of how to deal with leadership or management sort of challenges that I might face. But it is definitely something that's there. Because ultimately, we all know that even if you don't look like this, you're still capable of doing phenomenal work out there within the industry to continue to grow that. So one day my goal is to have more creative technology teams that look like this, right? So it's the, maybe not a hoodie, maybe not, casual Chuck Taylors, but still the Nike sneakers, the denim jeans, the gold chains, it's a certain look. Because someone looks like this is no less limited in their ability to create and innovate and do great work. I think about Ice Cube, one of these members. When I was a kid, I was a big Ice Cube fan. This is someone who was a gangster rapper, who's also evolved into directing and writing and producing, and now he's making family movies, right? It's his evolution and openness that people can create from different types of mediums is extremely important and totally open. Now, when we look at the evolution of one's career, I've always been a big advocate for people thinking about a plan. What's your plan of attacking your career? What's your 2-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? I know that whenever I work on a plan, typically it doesn't end up quite the same way, particularly those wiggly points in between. You have to be open that you might set a path, but you might evolve that down the way. I thought in my career that I would spend the entire time in New York City where I'm currently working, but reality is that I've moved around in different types of places, working for different types of companies. But you have to be open to that. But I do feel it's important that you have a sense of what direction you want to head in, and not just sort of living in the moment of what's being created. Now, many people ask me, say, hey, okay, well, I'm here, I have a job, but what can I do to grow? What can I be doing to help be in a position to innovate and have companies want to bring me on? And first and foremost, I always tell people to always looking to be a contributor to your team. Doesn't matter how people look, doesn't matter how they are, always looking to give back and contribute to other people. Obviously, when we also have making that plan that you want to work with, but then also being very open in terms of what's being needed. Even in my position, I still look to fill in the gaps. How can I help someone? Yeah, I know that I might be a director level person, but is there anything that I can step in to help out people just to help the cause along? Being in that position, I think, makes it much, much easier for you to grow and evolve in your career. But I do realize that you might need the help of someone larger, broader to provide some assistance. And there are a multitude of organizations that are out there that can provide help to you, many of which I've worked with. So it's a bit of a NASCAR slide. Code 2040, Ad Color, General Assembly, Market Scram, Black Girls Code. Maybe some of these you've heard of, maybe some of these you've not heard of. I think most importantly is that these are all groups that inspire me in terms of what they're doing, how they're trying to help people. And even if none of these may be specifically about creative technology, these are definitely groups that can help you write better code, help make connections, help in your conceptual thinking. And rather you're in a position where you're looking to learn, or in a position where you're just looking to give back and contribute. It's very important within our careers. Our third point for the day is diversity ultimately affects the bottom line within the companies. And when you think about particularly the advertising agency, historically, the conversation was very one way. TV commercials, print ads, people see them, they want to buy your products. But today, things are very different. Today, there's a two-way communication that's happening all around the world. Mobile, social, big data are shaping the way that people are communicating, and it's diverse groups of people, particularly within creative technology spaces, that are in the right position to bring these ideas to the table and to the companies and the brands that they work for. And when you break it down, it's everyone wants to innovate, right? It's a hot, trending topic, innovation. What is innovation? Let's sort of break innovation down into two specific areas. We have core innovation, and then we have our new growth innovation. Core innovation is taking existing products and services that you have and making them fundamentally better. Our new growth innovation are looking for new opportunities. So when I think of a prime example of new growth innovation, I think about companies like Apple, that 10 years ago, Apple was essentially a desktop computing and laptop company. Today, many people consider them mobile companies. Maybe someone had the forethought, Steve Jobs, 10 years ago, that, hey, it's all about mobile. But it's safe to say that without the success of the iPhone, Apple would not be the company it is successfully today. So how are we looking for opportunities to grow into new directions? How are we bringing on people that can provide us with that new type of thinking for the area? So to turn back the clock a bit on the industry, I want to talk about the Marlboro Man, right? This iconic Americana image. So the Marlboro Man, which we're all familiar with, and also going back to the 1960s, we want to talk about Burrell Communications, which, if those of you don't know, was one of the first Black-owned advertising agencies within the industry, and one of their clients was Marlboro. So we look at the Marlboro man. We have our loner, a bit of a rebel, you know, the man who works on a cattle ranch. He's a hard worker. He enjoys his cigarettes. Now, back in the day, when people wanted to target products and services to African Americans, they would just take the same image and message that they use from the mass white audience. But the problem is that this image didn't resonate with black people, because you don't have black people with 10-gallon hats walking around over in America. So one of their tasks was, how do you come up with a black Marlboro man? How do you come up with an image of a man that resonates within the black community? So these are two ads side by side. One is of the gentleman with his partner in the market, turns around with a cigarette, he looks cool. The next one is African American in office space. He's collaborating, he's working with his other employees. Now, while there isn't technology necessarily behind this, this is still an idea of how do you innovate and look for new ways to take something that maybe sits within here and then expand it to a broader audience, but something that makes sense to people, that resonates. This affects the bottom line, because Marlboro can convince more African Americans to buy their products and be in a more successful position. And I'm not advocating buying cigarettes, but for the purpose of the presentation. Now, next I want to talk about Mad Men and this popular image of the leadership and management team at the agency, Sterling Cooper. And it's interesting for me is that whenever I would see a TV show or see this image, I always thought about, what about me? One, because there were very little, if any, blacks within the TV show, which was a popularized topic, but then also technology wasn't at this point within the industry. So I see that kind of gap in between the art director and the other creative, and I say, well, maybe it'd be my photo in there in some day. But more importantly is, these are the people within the industry that are in a position to make change. Now, while this is a depiction from the 1960s, unfortunately, this ratio of diversity, gender racial diversity, isn't that much different. And we are more than 40 years past that time. These are things that we definitely need to change. But we think about the people who are in those positions and make change. We need to make sure that they are leading the evolution, leading the innovation by, one, empowering people to make diverse hiring practices that focuses on bringing the top talent in, that we're also creating work that's extremely relevant for our clients, and that's helping our clients' businesses grow. And just ultimately, the image of the agency. So for me, ultimately, this goal is to make sure that this topic around creative technology and diversity creative technology is not just a trending topic, but it's something that's actually here to stay.